So, just tell me your overall view of how the week was for you, personally, not politics, personally.
I think the convention was a tremendous success. There was love in that room, I'll tell you what. There was tremendous love in the room. You look at the unity. I mean, take a look at Ted Cruz. He got booed off the stage. I've never seen anything like it. Because those people want to win. They want to make sure we get the right Supreme Court justices. And there was tremendous love in that room.
So people always say about if their parents have passed, they say, if my parents were here now, they'd be so proud. And I know you think that, but just talk more specifically why your parents would be proud of this.
Well, I was very lucky, Mark, to have two great parents, and just great, very different. My father was a strong businessman. My mother was like this great mother, but very, very smart. And very different people, but they had, you know, they were married forever. And I was very lucky, and I think that if they had seen that scene last night with those thousands, I don't even know, it was packed. And on top of that, the basketball floor was packed, so it was like record attendance. And if they would have seen what took place last night, I think they would have been very, very proud. And as you've heard, the television ratings were through the roof. And, you know, it's just been an honor. And most importantly, we've gotten the message out. The message now is out. It's resonating. You know, this Never Trump was fiction. That was in somebody's mind, mostly the media's mind. It never had a chance. But it really was a love fest. And only the worst haters would say it was anything but that. The unity in that room last night with many thousands, I don't know, it was a major basketball arena where LeBron plays, and it was packed. I don't think there was one person that was against us. So I think we're going to do really, really well. You see the poll numbers. We're leading in a lot of places, and we're leading in key states. And most importantly, we have the best message.
I want to take you back though to your parents. What I asked you about. Whenever I ask you about, talk about your feelings, you usually start off and then you quickly veer off. So.
Yeah, well, I never like to talk personal, but I had an exceptional relationship with my parents.
Yeah. Just tell me what they. I mean, did they ever think you could be president? Is that something you ever discussed with them?
It was never even in a conversation because it was never something that was within the realm of possibility. My father loved me. My mother loved me. We have a great relationship. My brothers, my sisters. I mean, my family. We just have a very good relationship, and that's, I think, largely because of my parents.
Does it make you sad at all that they're not here to see it?
Very sad, because I was saying last night when they were doing the count and the roll call, as they call it, and the great state of Alabama, the great state of Arkansas, you know, these incredible, the great state of Georgia. And, you know, you've heard this for years and years and years, every 4 years, and you see it. And it's so glamorous and so beautiful, and the sound and the, you know, everything. And frankly, I think we had more enthusiasm in that room. I've been told this by numerous anchors, people that you know. There was more enthusiasm in that room than they have seen in many cycles. And when you see that and you realize it's actually your name, it's very surreal.
I flew with you the night of the New Hampshire primary, and that night you talked about how it really was an achievement to win that, and an achievement different than anything you'd achieved as much as you've achieved in business in other realms. I know you say all the time, unless you win the White House, it won't be worth it, but you're in the history books now. You're the nominee of one of the two major parties. Is that, it seems like, just for, I know sort of for the country you want to win the whole thing, but just personally, do you get satisfaction out of that?
Well, you just said it. New Hampshire was very big for me. Because again, you'd always hear the great state of New Hampshire when it comes to politics. It's very important. And by the way, they will keep their place, and Iowa will keep their place. You know, there was a lot of talk of moving Iowa and New Hampshire to the back of the pack. That's not happening, because now I control that, and that will never happen. Because there's something beautiful about the tradition. And I did really well in Iowa, but I learned in Iowa. I should have won Iowa. I had all the votes, and I really learned about ground games. I had never done it before. I came in second in Iowa, and I should have won it easily, because we had the votes. But we built a hell of a team after that. I learned a lesson. I said, it's not just about who's the most popular, it's other things. So we came in second in Iowa, then I went to New Hampshire. I'll never forget the people of New Hampshire, because that was my first victory. And then after that, it was, you know, we just ran the table pretty much. But I have to say that the world of politics is a whole different place. It's beautiful, it's glamorous, it's mean, it's vicious. I think it's got every possible word you can think of. It's very simple, it's very complex. It's amazing.
And watching the roll call and being the nominee, that's an achievement, right? I know you want to win the whole thing, but that's an achievement.
Well, when I watch the roll call and I see that I was winning by so much, if you remember the 1237 delegates, they said I would never get there. And I always felt, what are they talking about? And I would have gotten there very easily. And then I did get there very easily. And then I got up to 16 or 1700 because people started dropping out because we were meeting, we were winning by a lot, to be nice. But I will say, when I watched that roll call, it was very special. Where
were you sitting when you watched that? Who were you with?
I was actually with my wife and Barrett. My kids were in the arena, as you saw.
I want to talk about that.
And so I watched.
Tell me where were you at home?
I was in New York. I wasn't supposed to be there. I was not supposed to be traditionally. And a lot of people said, will you change the convention? Will you this? I said, you know what? It's wonderful to change things, but there's something traditional. Tradition means a lot to me. And the tradition of a great convention is important. For instance, I don't care where you go, there's nothing more beautiful than a roll call at a convention. So you could do it maybe different ways, but it would never be as good.
So you were sitting at home watching, and there you got your 4 kids up there, Don at the microphone. Just talk about what it was like watching Don announce the tally.
Well, they were there, and you could see, they're strong kids, but you could see they were very emotional. And I'll tell you where I was most proud of them, the way they spoke. They got up in front of these massive crowds. You saw your television ratings, they're through the roof. The arena was packed. And as an example, Tiffany got up and spoke for 6 or 7 minutes. I doubt she ever spoke before more than a class of 20 people. And here she is speaking on a national stage at a very young age. And Don and Eric and Ivanka were unbelievable. What they did were just unbelievable. All very different. It's very interesting. They were very different, but I think I probably got more credit for my children than almost anything else that took place at the convention.
And how'd that make you feel?
Very good. They're very smart. They have great hearts. They're very good people. They're my kids, but they're very good people. They're kind. They have great hearts, but they're also very, very smart. They were always good students. They always did well. They didn't have to, burn the midnight oil, as the expression. They're just smart people. So I'm very lucky in that regard. But maybe more importantly, they're very good people.
I know at least 3 of the 4 of them were pretty nervous before their speeches. Did you talk to them about that?
Well, who was the one that wasn't?
I don't know that Eric was. I know the others.
Oh.
He might have been too.
Well, maybe Eric didn't want to say it.
Yeah. But
he was.
But did you talk to them about it?
I did. I said, just go out, do your best. I said, it doesn't matter. You just do your best. I always like to say that. It doesn't matter. I remember the first debate. I'd get calls from Newt. I'd get calls from a lot of people, like Rudy, who's been great, Rudy Giuliani. I get calls from people. Sean Hannity, who I think is a terrific person. And everyone was saying, this is the single biggest night in your life. I said, fellas, I don't want to hear that. Don't tell me that. I don't want to hear it. Because I understand pressure. I think I know how to handle pressure. I don't want to hear about the biggest night of my life. Now, on the other hand, we have a debate coming up, which people are saying will be the all-time biggest event ever in a lot of different levels of television. We'll see. We'll see. But I think 2 things are going to happen. I do think the debate will be one of the biggest shows ever in television, but much more importantly, I think the voter turnout for the election between Trump and Clinton, a lot of people are saying it's going to be the most votes ever cast in a presidential election. And you know what? That's a great thing for the country. Because we are not a country that votes. We have such low voter turnout. But they say this will break the all-time record. And I think, Mark, that's a great thing.
When you think back on this past week, besides your kids' speeches and your wife's speech, what are the memories that you think will stick with you?
I think the beauty of the arena. I think the arena was the most beautiful arena I've ever seen, and I'm not just talking about for political conventions. The stage, the incredible lighting where they could change it from one color to another and you wouldn't know it. It would take place in less than 60 seconds. I think that the love that was in the room was a big impression it left in me. And part of that, honestly, because I like to be nice and open with people, I knew that Ted Cruz was going to be making his speech, and I knew the speech. I saw it 2 or 3 hours before. What people don't know is that he added a line that you're not supposed to do. He added that line, second or third line, which was...
Which line do you mean?
You look at it and you see. But he had a speech. We approved his speech. I read his speech because my people didn't want to take a chance on, because I had the right to let him speak or not. And when I first read it, I said, hey, you know what? First of all, it's not a very good speech. It's not very exciting. But second of all, let's throw him out. And then I said, you know, that'll be a bigger deal if we throw him out than if he reads it. And if he doesn't endorse, what difference does it make? So he got up, made his speech, and almost before he even started, he added a line which was not a part of his speech.
Tell me which one.
Which is a lie. In other words, that's another lie. I won't use his nickname, but that's another lie.
Which line did he add?
It doesn't matter.
Right,
You'll see. You'll see. It's very obvious.
Clear up the confusion about why you walked into the arena when you did. Were you getting there to upstage him?
To tweak him?
Yeah.
I would never do a thing like that. But yes.
Yeah. So people who watch...
You know what? He's lucky I did it.
What?
In retrospect, I wish I would have waited another minute, because he was being booed right off the stage. I have never seen anything like it. And his wife, was a very nice person, had to be taken out of the room. And we're even talking about the Texas delegation. They were so angry at him. Personally, I think his life in politics may be over, because people are so angry with him. And whether it is or not, I don't care. And I don't want his endorsement. And that's not out of anger. I don't care. His endorsement means nothing. But had he endorsed, it would have been a good thing for him politically. By not endorsing, in my opinion, I think he hurt himself. And the reason I told the little anecdote that they sent the first picture through a PAC that he totally controlled, and that I had nothing to do with his father, this was a front page story in the National Enquirer that I have nothing to do with. And he said, he blamed me for that picture. I know nothing about it. But his father had a picture taken with somebody, let's not say who, had nothing to do with me, and he blamed me, and then the media goes around and says it was my fault. So I wanted to get it out that, number one, he sent the first picture, which was a cover of Melania on GQ magazine, but they took all the GQ stuff off, and it was an artsy photo of a very, very, very successful model. And the other one was just a National Enquirer, had nothing to do with me. And somehow I got blamed for a picture of his father. I only met his father once. I don't have any pictures of his father. So I wanted that narrative to get out.
You're called all the time a really great television producer. Is that true?
Well, I understand television, but nobody's a great producer because there's always an element of luck.
Right. So what were you thinking when you walked in? What was your sort of plan?
I think this. I walked in and the arena went crazy, because there's great unity in the Republican Party and people don't know it. Had I not walked in, I think that audience would have ripped him off the stage. I think I did him a big favor, because it went from boos all over the arena. You saw what was happening.
Right.
Like why he stood up there.
What was your plan?
Ted Cruz reminded me of when he was in Indiana, standing with those great people who actually came from Ohio, and he was trying to sell them on himself. And they kept calling him Lion Ted, Lion Ted. It was a little like that in the arena. He should have left sooner. He could have left. He could have had his final line sooner. But I'll tell you what, I did him a favor, because had I not walked into the arena at that moment, I think they would have ripped him off the stage.
Did you have any conversations with people this week that are memorable to you?
My kids, my wife. I thought my wife did an amazing speech. I thought she did an amazing speech. I thought Ivanka's speech was incredible. All of my children did an amazing job. It's so different, but I thought they all did an amazing job. And I thought my wife did an amazing
Did she come out of this week feeling okay about it?
She came out feeling fine. And that's the reason Meredith has been with me a long time. I so respected the fact that she said, I'd like to tell you exactly what happened. It wasn't Melania's fault. It was really nobody's fault. It was just something that can happen. I can understand it. And that's why I would not accept her resignation.
Why did it take a day to figure that
Well,
out?
it's only one day.
Yeah.
I mean, in all fairness.
Did you learn any lessons from that experience?
No, other than I guess you could check this stuff from a computer, which I never knew. I will say this, for my speech, I wrote it myself and I had to check my computer because who knows what's going to happen. But my speech, I wrote it with Stephen and myself. Stephen works for me, he's fantastic. But we wrote that speech with no references in terms, we didn't say, you know, let's do this or that. But because of that, I had it fully checked by computer.
What do you think Hillary's going to do for a running mate?
Too early to say. I guess it's going to be today sometime.
If she picks Tim Kaine, what do you think of that?
I have no comment. I'll comment immediately upon the pick. But I do have somebody that I hope she picks. I won't tell you.
Are you looking forward to their convention at all?
No, I think it's going to be a very boring convention. Honestly, it'll be very boring, and I don't think it'll get good ratings. And you do know we were getting tremendous ratings. Are you admitting that we got tremendous ratings?
We got very good ratings. I'm eager to see what your speech did. It'll be pretty good.
I'm hearing it's very big, but we'll see. But I think it got tremendous.
I'm going to go back to you like the tradition of the convention, which might surprise some people because you've run an unconventional campaign.
I love the tradition. Well, I'm a traditionalist in many ways. I love the tradition of a convention, of a great convention. I thought our convention 4 years ago wasn't a very exciting convention. Didn't have a lot of energy. A commentator on Fox, a big one, said 3 days ago, which I really appreciated, that there's more electricity in the air than just about any convention that he's ever attended. And he's attended a number of them. That means this one. And I felt that too. And you really saw it last night. Those people, I mean, nobody left. Nobody left. Those balloons were all down. I don't think there was a person that left the arena.
Oh, I'm almost done, don't worry. You've been the center of attention for decades at times, but this week you were more the center of attention really than you've ever been in your whole life. What did that feel like?
Well, you know, it's very interesting, Mark, because I've had tremendous bestsellers in books, and that's a great honor. Tremendous. I've had many bestsellers. I've had a reality show, one of the most successful reality shows in the history of television. I've had great business success. Nothing is even close to this in terms of magnitude. And you know, the example is that you're on Time magazine 1 or 2 times over the course of a lifetime. And now it seems I'm on the cover of Time magazine almost every week, including this week.
Talk specifically though about the convention experience where for 4 days on the news, it's Trump, 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 Trump.
I would say there's nothing like it. And I think the convention was very, very successful. Now we'll see, because to a certain extent, the polls will determine that. But I hear, and again, what do I know about likability and unlikability? But I've heard my likability numbers went way up, and that's a positive thing. But I think people really liked my family. I think they really liked my children. I just love the experience. It's unique.
And just besides the things we've talked about, your kids, your experience, were there any other moments from the convention that stand out to you? Any other speakers or?
It's just the whole mass of the event. I mean, it is massive. No matter what you do in life, there can never be anything like that. Especially when most people, Mark, said, gee, Trump is what, you know, I'm running against, let's say they were saying the most talented field ever assembled in the history of Republican politics. Okay. So I'm running against, and I heard that before I announced. So, you know, I'm saying, what am I doing? I actually heard Charles Krauthammer say this is the most talented field of professionals that he's ever seen.
You don't agree with that, though, I know.
I don't want to comment. But I will tell you, and some I do, I tell you, I have a lot of respect for certain people. Chris Christie, Ben Carson. I'll tell you what, I have a lot of respect from your former governor. The way he pivoted was incredible. but I have a lot of respect for Governor Perry, and I like him. I have a lot of respect for many of the people that I ran against, but I don't have a lot of respect for all of them.
What do you think of what happened to your friend Roger Ailes?
I think it's so sad. He's such a great guy. Roger is, I mean, what he's done on television is, in the history of television, he's got to be placed within the top 3 or 4 or 5, and that includes the founding of the major networks. So it's too bad. I mean, I'm sure it was friendly. I know Rupert, he's a great guy. Rupert has great respect for Roger and everything Roger's done. But when you think about Roger Ailes, in the history of television, there's really been almost no instances where something like this has been done.
2 more. Any update on the audit of your tax returns?
No update. I mean, it's a routine audit, just moving along. I get audited every year, I think for 12 years or 15 years.
You think it'll
but
be done?
It's very
you think it'll be done before?
I hope so, but we'll see.
Last question. One of your team said the big goal of the week was to show people sides of you that maybe they hadn't seen. Your kids talked about that. I think your speech did some of that. What are the things you think or you hope people learned about you this week that they didn't know before?
Well, that I'm a good father, that I have a beautiful family and a good family, that I love my children, I love my family. I don't think I have to know about my business because I've been a very successful business person. Although that came out, some of the biggest people in business have endorsed me and said, Trump is a great businessman, but I think people know that. I just think that a lot of things have come out, but the convention was a tremendous success by any standard. And not just because we had a big last day. We had a great last day. But the convention was a tremendous success, and I really enjoyed it.